Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the 1UP Superstar Series Playoffs, round 4 of 10 in the series playoffs, round 24 of 30 in the entire season, and we're at the historic North Wilkesboro Speedway in North Carolina, one of the oldest tracks we go to on the calendar. It was inaugurated in the mid-40s, and it's provided great action ever since, and we hope to see plenty of good racing action here today as well. Alongside me in the booth today, as always, is Duke Ansack for today's race, and this is going to be an interesting one because track position is king around this place. It's hard to pass, but it's not impossible. You just got to pick your spots carefully if you want to make your move to the front.
Yeah, this is another one of those exciting short tracks that we get to go to and watch these drivers race around and rip on the bottom. You know, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch these guys try to battle for that track position and not only just trying to be up front, but also trying to be on the bottom. In the bottom groove, you know, that's just where you want to be at this track. You're going to see a lot of dive bombs coming out of the corners and then going into the corners as well. So I'm excited to watch this race. I think it's going to be a ton of fun, and not to mention we've got an awesome playoff battle going on as well.
And speaking of that playoff battle, we can give you the full starting lineup. Nick Ortiz gets his third pole of the season. He puts this 91 Ford on pole position with Lane Sanders alongside him in the 41. Nelson Reeves gets a well-needed third-place qualifying effort alongside Stephen Hunter, the defending series champion. And Bobo Jones rounds out the top 5 with 4 more playoff drivers completing the top 10 in Justin Hutchinson, Jake McMillan, Joshua Michaels, and Christian Vargas, with Ben McDonald the only outlier in 8th. So that being said, we've got a lot of big names starting up front, but will any of them be a threat to the top 5, or is this going to be a battle between them for the race victory?
You know, I mean, the playoff drivers are playoff drivers for a reason, you know? They're the best of the best right now this season at this time. So I'm expecting the playoff drivers to kind of rise to the top today. But, of course, we've seen in recent memory non-playoff drivers contend for wins and even be the only contenders for wins, and specifically in the Nitro National Series. So, you know, I think that it's going to be a good mix between them, but I do expect the playoff drivers to end up in the front by the end of the day.
So with that being said, the cars are lined up on the grid. As always, we are ready to bring you 120 laps of action from the venerable North Wilkesboro Speedway. This is the 1UP Superstar Series playoffs from North Wilkesboro, and the green flag is next. With 120 laps in front of our drivers today, we invite you to join us for a silent lap 1, as we always do in the 1UP Superstar Series. Green flag is in the air. We're underway here at North Wilkesboro. So with 1 lap complete here at the North Wilkesboro Speedway, Nick Ortiz leads lap 1. Lane Sanders settles into 2nd, but behind them, it's a side-by-side battle between defending champion Stephen Hunter and rookie Nelson Reeves for the 3rd position. Those two are going at it in a big way. Nelson Reeves, of course, needs a good run here in order to keep that ride for 2022. He needs to finish right about where he's at right now, and he might just lose that position to Stephen Hunter in the 51.
Yeah, Stephen Hunter is on the outside right now. Oh, it looks like he's going to make it work right there. It's pretty good from the 51 car to use that outside lane, use the momentum off the corners to stay out there. It gets a little bit loose off the corner there, but
that's going to be something you see all race long, though, is the cars getting sideways off of 4 especially. Not so much off of 2 because you go uphill down the back straightaway, but going down through 3 and 4 into the downhill front stretch, that's where the cars get really loose off the corner. You can see them all sliding off the corner going into turn 1. It's going to be a wild day here at North Wilkesboro if that continues to be the trend.
Yeah, you know, when you're coming through the corners like that and you get off of the corner, the car unloads because you're no longer, the downforce is no longer pushing you into the track in the corner. And then it's a lot worse when you're coming downhill, like you said, because of the fact that you're going downhill. You know, gravity is working against you. Your car wants to go forward, but the track is going down, and you're light. You know, the car is way lighter than normal. So there's a lot of getting loose off of that corner. And we saw a big moment from the 17 as well in that last lap. So it's a lot of fun to watch. It's a challenging racetrack, as you can see. But right now, so far, so good with everybody running well. And I wanted to mention that Stephen Hunter, it's good that he's running in third right now. He looks pretty fast. He's in need of a good run, even maybe a win to kind of keep his hopes alive in this championship fight.
If he's to win a second consecutive championship, he needs to start the challenge now to Nick Ortiz and the rest of these playoff contenders, especially those ahead of him, like Christian Vargas, the current points leader, running up in the 9th position right now, just ahead of Joshua Michaels, who's currently 4th in points. With Jared Polansky and Jeffrey Finguy 2nd and 3rd, they are both outside the top 10 right now. But as we get into lap 9, Nick Ortiz continues to lead the way. He's only led a grand total of 66 laps this season, so he's got an opportunity to lead a lot more here today if he can keep it up front. But I would not count out any of the cars behind an amount of charge. It's only a matter of time before we see some racing action here.
For sure, and you know, it's another short track, and we've been saying it every single time we go to a short track, and even the super speedways, lap traffic is going to become an issue soon in this race. You know, they're going to come around and they're going to find those cars that are at the tail end as everybody spreads out. They're going to have to pass them. They're going to have to be patient, and it's going to take a lot for whichever driver makes it to the front at the end of this race. It's going to take a lot of patience driving through those cars. And you're going to have to be the one that does it the best if you want to win this race.
Looking back now at Nelson Reeves running in the 4th position, like we said at the top of the show, he's under pressure to keep that ride. He needs good runs to get up into the top 25 in owner's points. That is the goal for him, to finish the season off in that top 25. If he does that, the ride is his for 2022. But he's facing pressure from Bobo Jones, who announced his plans earlier in the week for 2022. He will vacate that 86 ride and go to Monster Motorsports in 2022. That'll be a dangerous combination for sure. As we go back up front, Nick Ortiz has led the first 12 laps comfortably over Lane Sanders.
Yeah, it looks like there's not a lot of movement right now. People kind of saving their stuff at this point in the race. You know, you're only 14 laps into a 120 lap race here at North Wilkesboro. You just want to keep it clean for now up front. The 41 is he's doing solid right now, staying right behind the 91. Of course, Stephen Hunter was closing in for a second, but then he settled in 3rd place, and then everybody else has kind of settled in as well. And as far as the playoff guys that are running up front, you know, Nick Ortiz and Stephen Hunter, you know, they are capitalizing right now on Christian Vargas, who's leading the points right now, running in 9th. You know, not a horrible run, but definitely not as good as 1st or 3rd. So definitely a big day today, and potentially to capitalize, gain a lot of points on the leader, and you want to make the most of it right now. The 91 is doing that.
He's led a lot of laps this season, but yet to get a win this season. He has not won since the season finale of 2020, where he captured the win there. A little bit overshadowed by Stephen Hunter's championship, but that was still his only win to date. And right now, as we focus in on this 86 of Bobo Jones, as we said earlier, him and Monster Motorsports in 2022 will be a very dangerous combination. He's proven he can get the job done before. He has 2 wins in his career. Both came last year. And while he's yet to win this season, he's had some very solid runs in his Genesis Engineering car. But like we said, he will leave that to go to Monster Motorsports and drive their 77 car for 2022, with Andres Molina making the move over to their new number 7 car for next year. So with Jones and Molina on board, for that team is going to be very dangerous going forward.
Oh yeah, they're gonna have races where it's gonna feel like you're rolling all 7s. You know, that's gonna be a great team to watch run up front. And do really well next season. I can feel it, that they certainly are. And here's the guy, number 10, Justin Hutchinson. You know, he had a really, really good run in the regular season, and so far in the playoffs, I mean, he's in 8th in points. He's 62 behind the leader. He's not doing as good as he did in the regular season, but right now, he's having a solid run. He's ahead of the points leader, and that's all you can ask for at this point.
And another driver who really needed a good run is Jake McMillan in the 21. He's currently in the 8th position. Has only gained 25 points throughout the first 3 races. The best finish of 22nd at Armored Digital 2 weeks ago. So this team is in dire need of a good run, and they're having it right now up in the 8th position. They're starting to lose touch a little bit though with the front 7, but he's doing everything he can to hold off 2 more playoff cars in Christian Vargas and Joshua Michaels, and behind them, even Zanstra in the 28, having some difficulty making races as of late, but he made this one, and he's making the most of it currently in the 11th position in that Jeff Bolton Racing, number 28. This could be his best run of the season if he can stay up there.
Yeah, boy, I'll tell you what, the 54 is leaning on the 21 through the corners. It looks like maybe that time it's not going to be enough, but the 54 is eager trying to get by that 21 car right now.
Looking back at the rest of the field, it's 28, Ethan Zanstra. We just talked about him. He has not had the best of luck making races. He has only made a grand total of 7 of the 23 races this season, but this will be number 8 for him. And he's out of a ride this year. Jeff Bolton Racing is downsizing to just 1 car for 2022. So Zanstra is auditioning, in a manner of speaking, for a new ride in 2022, and I'd say he's doing a pretty good job of it, holding on to the 11th position just ahead of Kyle Vaughters. So we make our way back up to the front of the field. It looks like Nick Ortiz still holds the lead by about 4/10.
Yeah, he's hanging on out there. In fact, I think he's extending that lead just little by little. You know, he's gaining just a little bit. We're on lap 26 now, so we're solidly into this race. Everybody's in their rhythm. Everybody's found out what their car feels like, what it's handling like, and 91 is still out front, you know, even though everybody else is starting to figure it out behind him. He's able to stay ahead, and he's able to keep that gap. So it's all going to come down to who gets through the traffic better in this race, I feel like, you know, because that you know, the 91 right now, he's feeling really good in clean air. Nick Ortiz he's just out there riding happy like a Sunday drive. But it's going to change a lot once he starts getting in the dirty air of the traffic that lies ahead.
Ideally, he'd want to build as big a lead as he can to try and cushion his advantage over Lane Sanders and Stephen Hunter when he catches that lap traffic, because we saw it in the Nitro National Series race last week when Zach Rogers caught lap traffic in the wrong times. It just allowed everybody to close in behind him, and he did not go on to win that race that day. So lap traffic can be a pivotal factor. We've seen it all season long from the very first race, as a matter of fact, at Pensacola in the Nitro National Series. So lap traffic is going to be a factor. I'm not sure when they're going to catch the lap traffic or not, or they will catch the lap traffic at some point, barring a yellow flag. But we're not sure quite when that'll happen. But when it does, I'm sure that Nick Ortiz will have his hands full.
Yeah, he absolutely will, especially because everybody's running the same groove on this racetrack right now. They're all right about a half lane up from that white line on the very bottom there. As you can see, the 91 coming through, he's just a little bit off that line. Here's the back of the field right here, the 37. And it looks like they're about a straightaway ahead. The back of the field is ahead of the leaders. So, you know, and they're all running the same line. So you're going to have to get creative. I mean, you don't want to get caught on the outside, that's for sure, especially as the leader, because you can let people sneak below you in that case. So you're going to want to try to sneak low, but that's just going to, it takes so much patience to wait for the opportunity to go low. And then you're just letting people catch up to you. You know, the gap is not a lot in terms of when he catches the lap cars. There's not going to be a lot of time before the 41 catches up with everybody else behind him. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens once they get there.
The gap is starting to extend now, about 0.7 of a second now between Ortiz and Sanders. Lane Sanders trying for his 3rd career win. Nick Ortiz looking for his 2nd. Stephen Hunter, of course, looking for his record-extending 8th career win in the 1-Up Superstar Series. But we still, the top 3 all have wins so far in their careers. Nelson Reed's looking for his 1st. Bobo Jones looking for his 3rd. And as we go to our long shot, you can see the lap traffic up ahead of Nick Ortiz. It's not going to be too much longer that we're going to catch these guys. It's just a matter of catching them at the right moment. And considering how big a lead he has, about 0.6 of a second, he needs to pick his moments carefully, because he can't be too aggressive with these guys, because if he does that, that could spell the beginning of the end of his race, because we've seen lap cars get into wrecks with the leaders before.
Absolutely. You know, and to me, the 41 car, I don't know if the 91 is pulling away from that group more than the 41 is actually falling back more towards the 51. I think that's kind of where the gap lies. The gap between Nick Ortiz and Stephen Hunter has remained the same, but the 41 car has fallen into the clutches of the 51 right now. This is a battle for second place at the moment with Stephen Hunter right there, trying to get that spot, trying to maximize how many points you can get, and be prepared for when they get to the lap traffic, because that's when all the passing opportunities are going to be.
53 points, the maximum number of points you can earn in a 1-Up Superstar Series race, and Nick Ortiz has so far got 52 of them. He's led the most laps so far, and he's in first position. Only way he could improve that's by getting a fastest lap, which he does not have at the moment. That belongs to Stephen Hunter at the moment. But there's still plenty of time in this race. Still plenty of time for him to set that fastest lap. We know he's capable of clutching fastest laps at the perfect moment. We saw that at Phoenix last year, which allowed him to get into the playoffs that year. So Nick Ortiz certainly knows how to get it done, but he hasn't been in this position for a long time, dominating a race like this. It's been a long time, but he's certainly back in his element with a 0.8 of a second lead.
Yeah, and it's interesting that he's got 52 points in this race right now, because that's how many points he is behind Christian Vargas. And of course, Vargas is running in 8th position right now, so that doesn't mean a lot. It just means that he's getting more than Christian Vargas right now, but he's not getting 52 more. He's just getting 52 total. But it's an interesting coincidence, maybe something to think about in the future for when, if it comes down to it at the end, if it's Christian Vargas versus Nick Ortiz by the end of the season in the points. You want to think about races like this, where Nick Ortiz is out there gathering all the points he can, racing for the fastest lap before he gets to the lap traffic. It's that kind of thing that even while you're the leader, you want to be out there pushing as hard as you can to try to get as many points as you can, because you never know when you're going to need just the one.
And of course, if Nick Ortiz does get that fastest lap and wins this race while leading the most laps, and Christian Vargas falls out early, that would give Nick Ortiz a 1-point advantage over the 54 car of Vargas. So that would certainly turn the tides of the championship battle in a big way. Of course, Vargas hasn't had that many issues in this season so far. Only a single DNF for the driver of the 54 car. So he knows how to finish races, but it's just a matter of time before Nick Ortiz starts to catch up to the lap traffic, and now he's built up a 1.2 second lead over the rest of the field. This is exactly what he needs to do.
For sure, and I think that this 41 car is holding up these others that are stuck behind right now. I'm not sure if that car is just falling off a little bit, or maybe tires are getting used up. I'm not exactly sure what the issue there is, but he's holding everybody up at the moment.
Looking back through the field now, Jared Polansky currently runs in the 13th position, not where we expected him to be. We expected him to make a charge up to the front and contend for the win. But right now, he's just mired back in the 13th position, stuck behind Kyle Vaughters and just ahead of Miles Mashburn in the 72 car, running in the 14th position in the 72. Jared Jackson in the 05, making his second start with Motor Dash Racing and his third of the season, currently running in the 15th position, doing exactly what he did at Watkins Glen in his first start with this team, running in the top 15, logging laps, building a solid foundation for when Felix Anderson drives that car full-time in 2022. A very solid outing from this 05, and just what the team needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And to go back to talking about Jared Polansky, he's the guy right now that could pressure Christian Vargas as far as points are concerned. And so far today, he's just not doing it. He's sitting in 13th place. He's losing points to Christian Vargas, who's running ahead of him. And it's just not this whole playoff seems like it's not exactly what we expected out of Jared Polansky. It's so interesting how the regular season is like a totally different type of thing than the playoffs are. It's like a switch flips somewhere, and everybody changes their mentality, and things start to stop working. It's fascinating to watch these big teams struggle early in the playoffs.
Focusing in on Cody Goforth running in the 17th position, facing immense pressure from Jeffrey Finguy in the 92, who's currently in 18th. We expected this 92 to be a bit more of a contender today, but he's stuck behind Cody Goforth now in the 92, hoping to gain some more time on these leaders. With right behind him, a side-by-side battle between the 83 and the 93 of William Brock. That is for 19th position, just behind Jeffrey Finguy. So Finga's just riding along in 18th. He's not really he's trying to put a lot of pressure on Stephen Gale and Cody Goforth, but right now he's just not tearing up his equipment, and that's what you really need right now. JD Martin currently runs in 21st position, an improvement over where he started today. Zachary Fitzwater currently runs in the 22nd position after a solid string of top 10s as of late. Currently, the 22nd position will have to do right now for the driver of the Wilson Security Dodge. Kevin Carter currently runs in the 23rd position, I should say, ahead of his teammate Patrick Smith, the leading contender for Rookie of the Year as things stand right now, ahead of Nicky Martinez making a one-off return to the One-Up Superstar Series after a successful season in Nitro National competition. She runs 25th. Ahead of Henry Thomas in 26th, Daniel Bouchard at 27th, and Richard Herman 28th. But Martinez holding her own right now in the 71. And it's not quite what the Kings Motorsports team wants as far as the Owners' Championship battle. But I imagine for her first start in this series in quite a long time, just keeping the car clean is the goal for her. She almost lost it there off of turn 4. Richard Herman currently runs 28th, ahead of Ricky Freeman Jr. 29th. And then this is a bit of a surprise. Andres Molina, the lowest of the playoff drivers right now, running 30th in that 77 car. We know he's a road course expert, but maybe not so expertise on the short tracks so much. He's currently in the 30th position, just fending off Diego Yepes for that position. Roberto Crown Jr. currently 32nd, then a whole train of Jeff Bolton racing cars. Daniel Voiles 33rd, Glenn Mixon 34th, and then Jeff Bolton himself running in the 35th position. Not quite where they kind of want to be up running with their teammate Ethan Zanstra right now, but still, to get all 4 cars in the race for them is a good day. JQ Halla currently 36th, ahead of Arthur Xavier in the 37th position, rounding out his career at the tail end of the field. Anderson Reed 38th, Ryan Soper 39th, ahead of Henry Brown in the 40th position. Blair in the 19 in 31st, and Brandon Beal rounds out the field in 32nd, under a lot of pressure from our leader, Nick Ortiz. He has caught the back end of the field at last.
Yep, and now look at this. He's trying to find that time to get to the bottom of the racetrack. He wants to pass the 37 down low. He doesn't want to have to go up top because it's going to take way too long to be up there. It's better to just wait for your opportunity down low. He's going to have to try to maybe enter a little bit higher, cut low off of the corner, and then be able to have a big momentum down the front straightaway or the back straightaway, and then pass at the entrance of the next corner. But right now, it doesn't look like he's able to do that, really. You know, he's just kind of riding. He's even going a little bit lower than the third. Oh, it might happen. No, he had to let off of it for a second there. Let's see if he dives in. He's not going to. It's not going to be enough this time. So, see, this is just the challenges of these lap cars. You know, it took a while. It took about 61 laps there, or a little bit less, to catch up to everybody. And now these cars are running pretty quick, you know. They're not slow by any means, so it's tough to get by when passing is at such a premium here at North Wilkesboro Speedway.
And Lane Sanders has cut the gap down to under a second now in that 41, with Stephen Hunter not too far behind in the 51. Nelson Reeves, Bobo Jones round out the top 5, but Nick Ortiz still trying to get around that 37 of Brandon Beal, trying to put him a lap down. But critically for Ortiz, just ahead of Beal is Ortiz's teammate Blair in a 19. She should make it easy for the 91 to get by, because she knows her teammate is racing for a win here. So that 19, ideally for the 91, should be able to pull over at some point in time and allow the 91 to pass. But well, it's only a matter of time before we figure that out.
Yeah, you know, he's got to get by this 37 first. It looks like maybe he's got a shot here. Oh, I don't know. He's right in there. Maybe there's some contact right there. He's getting tired of it. He's got to go right now to get by that 37. He's on the inside of him now, and it's going to happen. He gets clear of him. So that's, I mean, finally, Nick Ortiz, absolutely powers his way through to get past the 37, and he's got a buffer car between himself and second place. So
and it looks like we've got a
load in the inside wall.
Did he push his car too hard to try and stay in front of that 91? No. He stalled the engine on the front straightaway. He'll come to a stop on the front straightaway. This should bring out a yellow flag right here. And just like that, the whole complexion of this race has changed with a yellow flag coming out on lap 66. And Nick Ortiz won't have an opportunity to get around his teammate Blair in the 19 to lap her, because right now the caution is out, and it looks like the whole field should be coming on the pit road this time by to make their one and only pit stop of this race.
Well, now the pit stop just becomes that much more important, because these crews, they don't have that, there was the Nick Ortiz had about a 1.5 lead. That was the gap for the pit crew. That was for them to be able to make a tiny little tenth or two mistake. But now that gap does not exist anymore. They have to be perfect, every single pit crew. If you want to win this race, you have to come out of the pit lane in first, and we're about to see who is able to do that. Oh, and they're pitting right next to each other, too.
Almost identical pit times right now from the 91 and the 41. We'll see Ortiz has a little bit of an advantage now, coming to the left sides, changing the left-hand side tires. Ortiz drops the jack, and he is off and away. Lane Sanders stalls it a bit coming out of the pits. Stephen Hunter exits second, then Jones, Hutchinson, then Sanders in 5th position. So Lane Sanders lost a couple of spots on pit road. That elevates Stephen Hunter into the 2nd position. What can he do now in his bid to try and obtain victory here at North Wilkesboro?
Yeah, Stephen Hunter, he was able to gain a position at the start of the race on the outside lane. He started on the outside, and he jumped up to 3rd place after starting in the outside lane in 4th. So that's really going to be an interesting battle here to see if he can get to the outside and maybe make a move on that 91 car while the tires are cold.
May be the case, as we are under caution for the first time today on lap 69 of 120. But the field cycle's under caution. We'll get you to the restart as soon as we possibly can. But right now, Nick Ortiz continues to lead. He has locked up the point for the most laps led here in this race, so no one can take that away from him now, even if someone else takes the lead and leads the rest of the way. So, Hunter is running his 2nd, and it looks like he's pulling off to the inside. Something's amiss with that 51 car. Could he have not gotten his lugs on all the way? Maybe that's why he had such a fast stop, is he couldn't get all the lugs on, or maybe there's something internally wrong with that 51. Either way, he is slowing on the inside of the corner. Bobo Jones is down there as well, but I think Jones will be able to continue on. He pulls back up into the outside lane, but looks like Stephen Hunter's going to make a return trip here.
Gosh, oh my goodness, what a heartbreaker for the 51 crew. They were having such a good day. I mean, the defending champion, he wants to have a shot at this thing. He's in 9th in the playoff standings, and it's only going to get worse, having to make a 2nd pit stop under this yellow flag. Oh, what a nightmare for Stephen Hunter. And
I'm not so sure if he'll even be able to stay on the lead lap at this point, as we only have about 1 lap to go until the restart. The lights are out on the pace car. We're going green next time by. If Stephen Hunter can get back out quickly enough, he might be able to stay on the tail end of the lead lap. But it's a race against time now to address whatever that issue is in that 51. Remember his issues at Las Vegas. This could be a similar situation, albeit on a lesser scale because of how shorter this track is compared to Las Vegas. But right now, Hunter sitting helplessly in the pits as the pace car pulls off. We're getting ready to restart this race.
Yeah, so then, look, we got the 77 car. Andres Molina is the lap down. He's the first car lap down, sitting there on the inside lane. It's going to make this restart interesting for the leaders. Who is going to be able to get to the bottom first? That's the question, and they're going green right now.
Green flag back in the air at North Wilkesboro, and Nick Ortiz gets a good jump on him. Hunter just now exits the pits, but he will lose a lap to the race leaders. As they come off of turn 2, Nick Ortiz powers off of turn 2 on the high side, trying to get around Andres Molina and keep Bobo Jones on the outside. Because right now, if Ortiz can get up clear of the 77, which it looks like he will be able to at this corner, yes, he does. Ortiz is clear. Jones is clear. He's found a gap down to the bottom, but he's got 2 cars in between himself and the race leader.
That is huge for the 91 because right now he has got a big, big advantage. He's got clean air, and he's got those lappers that are separating himself in second place. And
one of which is a teammate as well.
Yeah, so there's some incredible blocking going on in third place, or in third place on the track at least. Bobo Jones is got to be thinking right now, like, come on, what have I got to do to catch a break and be able to go and chase down that leader?
Right now, though, Ortiz is pulling away to a very handy lead, about 1.2 seconds over Bobo Jones. Justin Hutchinson third. And then how about this hornet's nest at the back of this train? We've got Nelson Reeves fighting Christian Vargas for the 7th position. He might lose that spot here as Lane Sanders gets caught up on the high side. Jake McMillan's trying to make a move for the 5th position on the racetrack, and we're 3 wide here.
Oh boy, it doesn't look like it's going to work now, does it? There's 3 lanes here at North Wilkesboro. Are they going to hold on to it out of the corner?
Joshua Michaels, Jared Jackson, Stephen Gale, all side by side for position, and it looks like Gale's going to be able to take the spot and move up into the 10th position. But right now, the 3 wide continues with Jared Polanski and getting underneath Michaels. Ethan Zanstra's down there. JD Martin as well. Michaels is just getting shuffled to the back in a big way. This is not going to help his championship chances at all as he gets freight trained on the outside.
No, and that's big news because he was sitting in 4th place in the standings. He was 32 points back, but right now he's just losing more and more. He's been stuck on the outside of 3 wide. That has got to be a dirty lane. Incredible job hanging onto that car out there, but right now the focus shifts now to the leader who's gained a huge advantage over those guys behind. It's the biggest advantage we've seen all day. This 91 car is flying.
We're coming to 40 laps to go from North Wilkesboro, and it'll take a Herculean effort from Bobo Jones to try and get around these lap cars. He's making an effort at it. He's trying to get around Blair in the 19. Ooh, he gets loose off the corner. That's going to keep him alongside the 19. Going in the turn 1, he should be able to clear this 19 now, coming off a 2. That is good news because he needs to get around this 19 as soon as he possibly can, because that is going to be the biggest challenger for the 86 to try and get around. Of course, Justin Hutchinson in 3rd. He is a teammate to this 19 car as well, and he's hoping that this 19 just moves out of the way for him and not the 86. But right now, it looks like the 19 is holding her line, and the status quo remains as Nick Ortiz has an almost 2-second lead now.
Bobo Jones has got to really fight. Oh my gosh, he is pushing that car to the limit coming out of the corner, trying to get past this 77 car. I mean, my gosh, Bobo Jones is just hanging it all out there right now. He knows what he has to do to go and win this race, and he is giving it all she's got right now coming out of turn 4. It's gonna... Yeah, that's... man, what a move. Let's see if he gets to the inside here. Oh, so close. But, man, what a battle this is.
With 38 laps to go in this race, we go to our helicopter to get a better look at this battle between Bobo Jones, the lead lap car, Andres Molina, and Blair in the 19 are lap cars. Justin Hutchinson, 3rd on the lead lap. You have to go a second further back to find the 2 Venta Motorsports cars of Ben McDonnell and Jake McMillan running 4th and 5th right now. Very good run from that organization. But right now, the focus is on this 86 car, and can he get around the 77 in a hurry? Remember, this is his future teammate he's battling for this lap position. He's got to be thinking, hey, come on, we just signed the deal to work together. Now we got to start working together now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're not teammates quite yet. In fact, they're not even manufacturer teammates right now. So I don't know if there's going to be much love between those 2 drivers right now as we watch this 91 car of Nick Ortiz just drive away from the whole field. I mean, I don't think there's enough time left in this race for him to catch back up to the tail end of the field. So this is kind of an outright shootout at this point to see who's got the faster car and who can get there to the finish line first. And it looks like this 91 car is going to be the one to do it.
And you see Stephen Hunter down the running order. He was in such a good position to try and take the lead. He is now 41st, 1 lap down in that 51 car, and well off the pace to boot. So his hopes of winning this race are gone, and perhaps his hopes of a 2nd consecutive championship gone with it as well. He's still got 7 more races to try, 6 after today, to try and make up some ground, but it's just going to be even more difficult with guys like Ortiz, Jones, Hutchinson, all running at the front of the field.
Yeah, you know, it's going to be a big-time effort from that 51 car. He's going to have to go out there and compete for the win every single week for the rest of the season to have a shot at it. And, you know, it's tough. You know, he had a really good solid runs in the regular season, just like Jared Polansky and just like Justin Hutchinson. And so far in the playoffs, those drivers just have not delivered like they were in the regular season, and it's hurting those guys. And it's the pressure is on at this point in the playoffs, and Bobo Jones still has not gotten by that 77 car.
And the gap is increasing as a consequence of that. It is now over 3 seconds, the gap between Jones and Ortiz right now, with 30 laps to go in this race. It is anybody's game, but Nick Ortiz has certainly tipped his hand on the scale a little bit because he's rocketing out into the lead of this race. At the rate he's going, he might actually catch the tail end of the field, but Bobo Jones has got to get around the 77 car as soon as he possibly can, because the more laps he spends behind the 77, the less likely he is to win this race, as Nick Ortiz is now taking the fastest lap of the race away from Stephen Hunter. He's on pace now, if he can hold on, to become the second driver ever to score a 1-up Superstar Series Grand Slam.
Yeah, I mean, it would not be surprising at all. The way that 91 car has raced today has just been absolutely incredible to watch. I mean, it just dominating the whole field. And right now, Bobo Jones has been struggling so much to pass this 77 car. You'd think that he probably doesn't have enough speed to even catch the 91 if he were to get around the 77. So it's going to take something incredible happening, like Stephen Hunter being in the way, but he's not in the way. He's on the outside lane, and the 91 is going to get right by him. So this race right now is looking really, really good for the 91 car, and he's just hoping that there's nothing that goes wrong for the rest of this thing so that he can pull out a win.
And you can see Ortiz just drive away from Hunter. He's a full 10 miles an hour slower at the end of the straights than Nick Ortiz is. Something is amiss with that car, and he's just going to have to nurse at home for the final 25 laps of this race. It's a shame for Stephen Hunter, but we're going to New Hampshire next week, and hopefully he'll have a shot there as well. But right now, he's just hanging on for dear life, hoping for a big crash to eliminate a lot of contenders and hope for him to move up the running order just a little bit more.
Yeah, and that's a lot to hope for, a lot to happen in one race, of course, especially one that's not on a super speedway where crashes are so likely. It's just one of those things. You're going to have to hope for some luck. And then, of course, you have to make your own luck, too. You have to be up there, and you have to perform as good as you can without everybody else. And even today we're watching this Nick Ortiz have such a good run, but Christian Vargas, the guy that everybody's chasing in the points, is running in 6th place, which is not too bad. And here comes Bobo Jones finally with a shot to get around the 77. My goodness, it took so long. It has been almost 20 laps since he started working on that 77 car, and now finally has cleared him, and he's got his sights set on first passing Stephen Hunter, who's got some damage and ill-handling car, and then, of course, the leader, who is almost 5 seconds ahead. I don't know, 20 laps, 5 seconds, do you think it can happen?
Nothing's impossible. We saw it in the Nitro National Series race. We thought Zach Rogers had that race in the bag. Not the case. But this is going to be a bit more of a challenge, I imagine, with these superstar cars. Plus, Nick Ortiz entered today 7th in the points. He could leapfrog 4 cars because he's running ahead of the 77. He's running ahead of the 83, the 26, and the 92 in a big enough margin where he could jump up to 3rd in points by the time this race is over.
Absolutely. None of those cars are really having a good day. It's been fascinating to see all the playoff drivers today. Kind of like we've got a couple that are really up here. We got the 91, the 86, the 10, all running in the top 3, and then the 21 is in 5th. And of course, Christian Vargas has been hanging around. But then all the rest of them are kind of scattered throughout this field, farther and farther back. It's really fascinating to watch who is having good days today and who isn't, because it seems to be a really dramatic difference between the ones that are having good days, winning 2nd place, 3rd place, all on the podium, and then of course those that are having bad days aren't even in the top 15.
Right now, it is Nick Ortiz with a 5.2-second lead. This is an incredible margin for a track as small as North Wilkesboro. And we're closing in on 15 laps to go as well. And we saw in an earlier shot that he is indeed catching up to the back end of the pack. J.Q. Halleck is back there. Glenn Mixon is back there as well. They could play a factor in who wins this race. And who knows, maybe even Stephen Hunter could fall that far back in the amount of laps we have left. But it's only a matter of time before this race ends, and barring a disaster for Nick Ortiz or another yellow flag, he should be the winner of this race for his second career win and his first of the season and his first on an oval.
Yeah, so right now for Nick Ortiz, he just wants to make sure that these lap cars aren't slow enough that it will allow the 86 of Bobo Jones to gain on that gap until that was the first lap that Bobo Jones has gained any time on Nick Ortiz in this whole stint so far after the restart. And he only gained a little bit. He's going to have to gain a lot per lap to be able to get up there, and let's see what he can do this time. Another just a little bit more than a tenth. I think that the 91 is probably either managing that gap between the lap cars or he has caught them, but the 86 car is just now starting to gain time, and I don't know if it's too late or not. We'll see what it is as they cross the line here. Looks like it stays the same, so that's not great for the 86. He's got to be gaining almost a half a second every single lap to be able to catch this 91. And then, of course, he's going to have to get by him somehow, and you want to give yourself some time for that. And it's not looking super good for the 86 right now.
Keep in mind, though, Bobo Jones has kept that bumper in pristine condition, and he will not be afraid to use it in these final few laps. You can see the old bump and run here at North Wilkesboro. We've seen it before where the leaders have crashed each other out of the race and the third place car goes on to win. We've seen it at North Wilkesboro before. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. But of course, Bobo Jones has to catch Nick Ortiz for that to be a possibility as we're closing in now on 10 laps to go for North Wilkesboro.
Boy, that would be an exciting finish for sure if the leaders wrecked each other after the 86 spent all this time trying to catch up to Nick Ortiz. That would be absolutely incredible. But right now, Nick Ortiz, what he's doing is he is managing that gap between himself and the lap cars. He is making sure that he is not catching them very much every single lap so that he is able to kind of stay out of their dirty area. He's able to stay out of whatever trouble they're going to be in because, they're all racing for those really important positions. And he's just trying to hold on to that gap. He wants to keep the gap between, and it's really working. That 86 car has not gained much time at all since he got free from the lappers.
You can't even see him in the shot. He's so far back. With only 8 laps to go now for Nick Ortiz, the gap's down to 4.8 seconds. But I just don't think it's going to be enough unless something bizarre happens here in the later stages of this race. It's not impossible. We've seen things happen before. So if you're going up to get a drink, assuming this race is over, stay right where you are, folks, because this one is not over by any stretch of the imagination. Albeit Bobo Jones 4 3/4 seconds off the lead, and Justin Hutchinson's almost 8 seconds back. So Nick Ortiz is in his own zip code right now, closing in on a couple of lap cars, closing in on 6 laps to go right now as he crosses the line. Nick Ortiz on pace for his second career win, and things go smoothly from here on out.
Yeah, and those guys up in front of him they're battling side by side with one just behind. I mean, it's a little bit of a dangerous situation for sure. If those guys start to tangle, that 91 is right there. So, of course, it's not over until it's over. But right now, it's looking really good for Nick Ortiz to get this win and maybe close out a Grand Slam here in the Superstar Series.
5 laps to go, coming to 4, and he's got Glenn Mixon, J.Q. Halleck, and Ryan Soper right in front of him. These are 3 cars that have not had a good day, but they're trying to stay on the lead lap to salvage something out of it. 4 laps of racing to go, and Ortiz's lead is growing now.
Yeah, he started to pick it up a little bit here. He just wants to get to these guys. He wants to make sure that he's got that gap. Of course, he's so far ahead right now. You'd think that it doesn't matter all that much, but he just wants to be up there with them. Let's see what the gap is this time by. And it's grown even more, about 1500th right there is how much the 91 gained. And obviously that is not shrinking the gap for second place. My gosh, look at this hornet's nest that's right in front of him. I would be so nervous driving right there behind these guys and just hold on, Nick Ortiz. Just back out of there. You got plenty of space behind you. Just don't get in a wreck. My gosh.
But that's not what a racer does. He races. And coming to the white flag this time, Nick Ortiz is in the middle of that beehive with 1 lap to go for North Wilkesboro. He's on pace to have a career day here at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. He's led all 120 laps today with the fastest lap. He's going to win the race. And for the second time in One Up Superstar Series history, a Grand Slam is achieved. Off of turn 4, Nick Ortiz is your winner at North Wilkesboro Speedway.
Man, that was a nervous final lap for me. I was on the edge of my seat seeing what would happen. There's Bobo Jones in second place, and then Justin Hutchinson in third. Christian Vargas crosses the line in fourth, so maximum points there for a day that wasn't super good for Christian Vargas. He's able to make up some points, and then here's the 41 as well. So a lot of good days, a lot of bad days here in this race, and what a stellar performance from the 91 car.
Ben McDonald runs out the top 5 with his teammate Jake McMillan with his best finish in the playoffs by far in 6th position. Kyle Vaughters finishes 7th ahead of Lane Sanders, who fell back to 8th. Jared Jackson gets Motor Dash Racing's first ever top 10 in the Superstar Series, coming home 9th ahead of Nelson Reeves, who gets a much needed top 10 run, rounding out the top 10 in the 10th position. So we had not quite the racing action we expected, but it was a thorough and utter dominance of a performance by Nick Ortiz. He has maximized the day, and with the fastest lap, most laps led, a Grand Slam for the second time in series history. He's got a lot of momentum headed towards New Hampshire.
He absolutely does, and this is going to change the look of the playoffs. I'm so interested to see what the points look like after this, because Christian Vargas, while his lead may have shrank, he has gained on Jared Polansky and Jeffrey Finguy and Joshua Michaels, so it's going to be really fascinating, especially Andres Molina also had a terrible day today in the just as far as points are concerned, and it's going to be really interesting to see moving forward in these playoffs to see who is able to capitalize and who isn't.
So the One Up Superstar Series, moving on to the New Hampshire Motor Speedway for race number 25 of 30 on the Magic Mile. You're not going to want to miss any of that, because that place is also known for close quarters racing, bumper to bumper action. It's just like North Wilkesboro, except a little bit longer. So you're not going to want to miss any of the racing action from the Magic Mile, which will come to you in 1 week's time. So from Duke and Zach, and from myself as well, we say goodbye from the historic North Wilkesboro Speedway. We'll see you guys in New Hampshire next week, where Nick Ortiz will have a lot of momentum. He is your Grand Slammer here at North Wilkesboro.